Okay.
Increase the resolution.
I did increase the resolution, I think. Yeah, but I couldn't figure out how to get the mouse clicks to highlight. I'd be glad to know how to do that.
I have to ask myself.
Yeah. Maybe you can teach both of us.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so what I want to do is, well, let's do this. So if you go and take my suggestion seriously, which is a good idea, this getting started thing kind of takes you through the whole process of doing a first application of this library, okay? Starting from downloading, okay? So you don't need to do that. So you can kind of go through here. This video, I haven't looked at it. I don't know if I ever looked at it. I might have looked at it a few years back, but you're welcome to make use of it if it's actually useful. Okay. All right. So let's start here. New scene. So let's do what they're doing. So what they're doing is they're making a little scene. These are obstacles that the AI shouldn't walk through. So similar to what we're doing, right? So if you can do it here, maybe you're at least on your way to doing it in the more complicated context that I'm giving you. Okay, so it's saying, oh, create something the AI can walk on, add it to the scene. Okay, that, the exact size isn't so important. The exact position isn't so important. I'll tell you what is important in a bit. This is already like a typo here. It says create a new layer. It is a layer, and yet they tell you to go look in tags, which is a bad thing. They think they do mean layers. So you need to make this. This should be in. So here's the thing. So you have to decide where the ground is. The Astar Pathfinding library, it's not his job to figure out whether the shrub is the bush you put down. Is that something guys walk over? Or is it something they walk through? It's not its job. You only know that. So you have to, by tagging, when you say something's ground, that means that's the thing you walk on. And same way, we're going to take other junk, for us it'll be these objects, and we're going to say, okay, you objects are obstacles, and we'll put them in a obstacles layer. Let me see, what does it need to, okay, should be called obstacles. Okay, well, let's do that. Well, to start out with, I don't want to do it on top of my old scene. So let's go here and let's right-click, create scene somewhere. Where is it? Scene. There we go. So this will be our simple scene. Let me just go and call it simple. Double-click on it to actually make it the current scene. And here you go. You got an empty scene. All right. Now, again, it doesn't totally matter where things end up, but you might as well put them in a simple spot. So I'll show you how to do that. So if we go and just say game object, 3D object, pick a plane. Okay, that's going to be our ground. Okay, so there it is. You notice it got born in some weird location. I don't care for that. So you can go up here just to zero out the location. If you go into the gear, you can say to reset the position, and then it will move it to the origin. And of course, it disappears out of my engineering view here, right? So I can click down, and there it is. Okay. Now, I don't need it to be huge. Maybe I want it a little bigger. So I think I'm going to scale it up. I'm going to change the scale in the X and Z directions. That's the ground plane, X, Z. Let's make it 2 in each case. And I think that'll be 2. That'll be big enough for us. Okay, again, now it needs to be in the ground layer. You see the layer by, if you don't do anything, is just in a layer called default. But if you look under layers, you may see a ground option there. Do you? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we can just take that to be ground. Okay, now we want to create some obstacles. So let's go and take their suggestions, a bunch of cubes, right? So here's a cube. That could be our first obstacle. You see, by selecting over here, you can get this widget up that just lets you select it and drag it around. Okay, you can go to its layer. Now, I should make the layer of the obstacles, but you see there is no such layer. So these layer names are not written in stone anywhere. They're just, that's just a way of coordination among software that agree they're going to use a layer for a particular purpose. So no worries, we will just add a layer. Okay, pick one that's not used. Okay, it looks like it doesn't want me to use the built-in ones. Fine, so I'll go down underneath ground and say obstacles. Spell it right, because it will be looking for exactly that. If you make it obstacle and not obstacles and it doesn't work, that's why. Okay, so there it is. Now I can take my cube and I can set its layer. Now you see obstacles populates there, so I can let it be obstacles. Okay, so one cube isn't enough, so we can do a couple different things. So if I can hit Control D over here to duplicate the cube. Well, to duplicate the cube, maybe, if it wants to let me. Maybe I'll do it over here. That way I can actually see if it happens. There we go. I got another cube. I can go and I can take it and I can scale it up big in one direction or the other. Actually, the Y direction is a stupid direction. Let me take Z direction. We'll make it size 3 there. And we'll move it. Whoa. Okay, Control Z undoes if you fat finger stuff a lot like I do. Okay, so we can see that. Okay, that's good. So it's like one big complex obstacle. And then it doesn't need to be a lot to just convince ourselves that we can do it. And we go to Game Object, 3D Object. Let's just put a sphere in there too, just to actually, I think I'll leave the sphere off. Let me put one more cube in. I'll make a bigger cube. How about that? So this one's the scaling widget, so you can grab it and scale it up like that. Or you can grab it and scale along one direction or another. You can also rotate from here. You can put it at an off angle. We can then raise it up so it's not so much sunk down inside the plane. Okay. Now each of these things are obstacles, so now for each one of these I'm going to click it and put it in the obstacles layer. Okay, I think I'm good to go. All right. Now, the next thing that you do...
Is the plane a tag ground or a layer ground?
It is layer ground, despite the fact that they say look at tags. You should not take that as a bit of advice. Okay? Now, next thing that you do, I'm not going to follow along by rote because, I mean, you guys can go through that on your own, and you might need to if you. So, it'd be a good test if once you leave the classroom, you can just go and kind of quickly dash through it, and if you can do it, that shows it really stuck. Okay, so what you need to do is to actually use the pathfinding code, you need to attach it to an object. And this is pretty typical in Unity. So there's a whole notion in Unity, it's not just Unity, in 3D graphics simulations of all kinds, of an empty object. So it's an object that has no real visualization. So I'm going to create one of those. So right-click here in the hierarchy, and you go in and see Create Empty as an option. So there we go. Now that's going to be my A-star code, so you can call it A-star. Okay, that's what he says to call it. It doesn't matter what you call it. I'm sure it will work just fine regardless of what you call it. You just leave it game object, but why not give it a mnemonic name so we can remember what it's supposed to do. And then you need to add in the A-star code, which is very interesting. It's called Pathfinder. I'm sure that's just some legacy thing. So the way to find it is you could just type in the search bar for Pathfinder and you will find it, or you can scroll down and you can see there is a pathfinding submenu and then a Pathfinder object in that submenu, and there it is. Okay? All right. Now, what they said to do, and I found it's a little, maybe he's made the code a little more robust, but he says in the if you read through the description that I'm pointing you to, he wants you to actually make the Pathfinder object. It's well, let's see, where's the actual position get set? Maybe it's actually in the graph. Well, let me see. Let's first create a graph. Okay, so this project can do at least these 3 kinds of graphs. It can do a grid, it can do a nav mesh, and a point graph is more kind of an ad hoc graph, however you want to do it. So we want a grid, okay? Now you see, this is the grid graph, it got added. If you click on that, it will open up and you see, oh my gosh, it's got a whole lot of structure inside of it, okay? So you see, it's expecting, it puts some default parameters here, 10 nodes wide and 10 nodes deep and 1 meter of separation in between the nodes. Okay, well that wouldn't cut it for the lab you have to do, but for right now, maybe that's fine. And what it says to do in the, I think it's right here, this center position, at least in older versions of his library, it was important that that thing be below the level of the ground. Because I think probably what, at least in the older version, it was doing is it was shooting rays from the top down to find where the ground was. So for each waypoint location, it would shoot a ray down, look for an intersection and say, oh, okay, that's where the waypoint is, and that's where the next one is, and so forth. Okay? it doesn't seem to be so sensitive at the moment, so I'm going to try to ignore that. Maybe we can mess with it. We'll see if we can mess it up later. Okay, so once you got things set up, the moment of truth is if you come and you do a scan. So if you do a scan, then you should see, and I'm not very happy with what I'm seeing here, so let's take a look. Does it actually have to be a tag now? That's weird. Yeah, so what I'm seeing now is, so I'm not liking this. This is okay over here. So these are each cells. So basically the navigation, the waypoint graph are the centers of these points. Again, it's not showing all the connections because that's not a thing that it does, okay? But what I don't like is it's also created some cells up on top of the obstacles. So in some games that would be a good thing, right? Because you want guys to be able to run and jump on top of things. But I said they were supposed to be obstacles, so I'm kind of surprised that it's doing that. So let's figure out what's going on with that. I wonder does it need to be a tag now? Let's see. Let's make an obstacles tag. Let's see if we can get it fixed. Oh, actually, no. I know what it is. It actually you can make those settings effective now per waypoint graph that you create, and you can create multiple waypoint graphs even for the same geometry. Now you might wonder why you would ever want to do that. I mean, if you have one way to move around the scene, isn't that good for all and forever? And the answer is no. You know, if you have in your game or your simulation a tank and a dismounted guy, the dismounted guy will go through a doorway just fine, the tank not so much. You know, yeah, maybe it goes over the doorway and obliterates the wall, maybe. Depends on how strong the wall is. Even tanks are not indefinitely strong. Okay, so, all right, so let me show you what the issue is here. If I click back down on my Astar, okay, if you look down, we have to look at these details now. So let's scroll down, and you will see that the obstacle layer mask, this is what it's looking for. What layers are the actual obstacles? I didn't say anything was to be treated as obstacles. So you need to go in here. So with this new setup, it actually is not important at all that you call it obstacles. If you called it obstacle and not obstacles with this new setup, it's better, because now as long as you select the same thing down here, you're good. They just need to be in agreement. Likewise, down here for height testing, this is where we're going to test against where the ground is. So this is where we want just the ground here. So you can go and look at this. You can unselect all, or you can be smart and just select nothing, and then just go and select ground, and you're good. The next thing to look at is the ray length. So what it's going to do is, from wherever your center is, it's going to go up this distance. In this case, 100 meters. That's going to be plenty good, because my obstacles are not 100 meters tall. But I'll give you a hint. In the terrain, that I give you 2 kilometers worth of terrain with hills, some hills are more than 100 meters tall, so you will need to mess with this some. All right, so now I think we can retry it. So again, you can come down here and say scan again, and you will see, and you will see that things are better. So now it's saying, okay, these cells are actually bad because of the obstacles. Yes, please.
Can you say something about thick raycast?
So thick raycast, the idea is, when you are actually, I don't know how it's actually implemented, but here's the idea. If I were to take a little plane, a new plane, right, just like my ground, except I make it 1 centimeter on a side, and I were to float it out in the air there, but it happens that a ray comes down, a normal ray comes, and it hits this thing, you will say, oh, this is a perfectly good place to stand, okay? So with a thick ray, that won't work. It probably is shooting multiple thin rays, or maybe using physics collisions and then dropping a sphere down, and it will see, no, that's too small, you know, that's what it's about. Now, for this class, I don't need to go there, but if you're detail-oriented and you really run it right for other applications outside of this class, that's what it's about. Okay, all right, now how can I fix the fact that you can see I'm not totally covering the plane, right? So if I put AIs in here, they're not, for example, going to be able to walk around that big block on the outside, because it thinks you can't go there. There's no waypoints there. How do I fix that?
Make it 20 by 20.
Make it 20 by 20, sure, or whatever it needs to be, right? You can just go in here, right, and mess with things. Oh, here we go. It's really fast now. 20 by 20, 20. Okay, there we go, much better. Okay? Same with the spacing. You make it to spec. See what I asked you to do for mine. Make me happy. When you do your own app, make yourself happy. All right. Now, we've actually got something done. We have a good looking waypoint graph there, but how do you actually use it for anything? Right? I need paths. That's the whole point of this. I need paths. Okay. Now, if you read down back in these notes, so where we are is we're down somewhere like here. You can see he has this. He has things set up, adding the AI. So we want to do it this way, the writing the movement script way. So we can go over here. And basically, the key thing is you're going to use a seeker. The seeker is a component that they provide to you that knows how to do the A-star function calls and actually generate a path. Okay, so if I go in here, I need to build a guy. So let's let my guy be something. So traditionally we use a cylinder or a capsule. I'll take a capsule this time just for laughs. Okay, and I don't like that he's sinking in the ground, but unfortunately I don't think I can change where his center is. So for those of you who are not so familiar with Unity, so these shapes are certainly not the whole repertoire of shapes, right? Obviously my terrain is not one of these shapes. There's an import mechanism which is routinely used when you're building a serious simulation. So you can model things exactly the way you want them, but since I'm trying to be fast, I'll just have to live with what I have to live with here. Okay, so this is my capsule. So I'm going to add a seeker to the capsule. It doesn't absolutely have to be added to the capsule, but I think that's maybe, let's see, I'm not sure. It might take information from its host object, so maybe that's important. I'm not sure. So if you go into here, you can just type seeker up top and you'll find it, or go into pathfinding, AI, nope, not there. Pathfinding, seeker, right there. Okay? All right. Okay, so now, so we got a seeker. How do you actually make the seeker do something? Let's take a look. Okay, so this is code that you can use, and what we're going to do is I'm going to literally cut and paste this in. So the point of this is, you see, when this thing starts, it grabs the seeker, and it tells the seeker, it assumes that you have an object. So a transform is kind of a very, very base class in Unity. Almost everything has transform as a parent. So if you say a public transform, then that slot can hold almost any normal kind of object. Well, that's why they're doing that. Public transform, target position. So you would drop your target into that position. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And then this will use the target position as one end of the path. It uses the transform of the object we put it on. So actually a good thing that we put it on the object that needs to move, because that's the right thing to do. Okay. And then there's a on path complete callback. So we will either see that, yay, we got a path back and no error, or we will see we did get an error, in which case we'll have to learn something new. Okay. So I'm just going to take all this code. Now you notice this code, so this C# is like Java. The class names need to match with the file names. Okay? So here I have a class name called A-star AI, so when I paste it into a file, I better make sure the file is called A-star AI or compilation hell. Okay, so I'm going to go to, I guess, the same object. So this is how you add a new script in. You go add object, go to the bottom, new script, and then give your name. Right? What was it? A-star AI? I need to get everything right. I think that was right. I don't think the S was capitalized.
It was not.
Okay, thank you. And add. Okay, now for some reason it takes it a while to add now. Okay, so there it is. So here's my A-star AI. I don't know why it comes up in a weird location too, but that's all right. I'm just gonna roll with it. Okay, so again, I want to replace the whole code with the code that I copied a while back. So I'm just going to do a paste, and of course it forgot the copy. So serves me right. Let's go back, do it again, do it again. All right, there it is. All right. Now, if you try to run this, it's not going to work because it doesn't have a destination to go to yet. Okay. Now, one of the things, though, if you noticed, my waypoints just went away. This is one of the things I like least about the A-star Pathfinding Project, and it's well-intentioned. They're really trying to be smart. And whenever you're doing anything and they think, oh, that could mess up the navigation graph, that could mess up the waypoint graph, then they kind of want to get rid of it and regenerate it to make sure it's up to date with whatever you've done. So here, all I did was mess with the script, but it thinks, oh, but it could have affected something. So off goes my graph. Now you can hit scan again, or normally when you just start running the thing, it will try to regenerate it. Sometimes we're going to have to work around this because we're not always, it's behavior that it's well-intentioned behavior is not going to be what we want at all times. But for this lab, it's probably all right. All right, so here's my script down here. Now I want to actually edit that script again. Just, target position, right? That's what I need to set. Okay, so if you look over here, right, whenever you put a variable and you say that it's public, a public property of an object, you would expect to see a slot come in here. And it's really quite smart. If you say it's a Boolean, it will come here and it will be just a checkbox to say if it's true or false. Depending on what you do. In this case, it could be any object in the game, so it's just kind of a slot, and you can just drag things in, and it shows you it needs to be type transform. Okay? So in our case, what should I do? So we don't have a sphere yet, so let's create a sphere, and let's pretend the sphere is where we want to go. So game object, 3D object, sphere, so there it is. Okay, so let's put it, I don't know. You notice if you click these planes on the side of an object, you can kind of just slide them around. Let's just go, I don't know, make sure we have to actually do some navigating. Let's go to the far side over there. Okay? And then what you do is, and this takes a little bit of dexterity the first couple times you do it, otherwise you'll lose the vision of what you want. So in my case, I need to look at capsule, and I want to drag sphere into that slot in capsule to be my destination. So capsule, okay, here's my slot where I want to put my destination. Now I can just drag the sphere down in there. Okay. Now you could also, if you click over here on the right, it will give you a menu to pick from. Maybe that's a better way, but I kind of like the dragging it. All right, so now let's take a look at what this code does. When we run, it will grab the current location. Okay, transform position is going to be the transform of the host object. That's that capsule thing. Target position is going to be my sphere. Okay, it's going to hopefully compute a valid path and then invoke this callback to say path done. The path is here. We'll check if there's an error has been set on the path version. All right, let's try it. Now that won't happen until we run. So let's run. Okay. And there you go. Now, yay, we got a path back. Did it have an error? False. Good. So no errors. And in fact, you see there's a perfectly valid path. Look, it's going from node center to node center to node center. That's what I want to see in your labs, too. There's ways to smooth the path and make it nicer and more natural. Don't do that this time, because I want you to see that you're sticking to your waypoint graph. Okay? Now, the visualization of the path, where that comes from is this checkbox. So in my capsule, in my seeker object, inside the capsule, there is a draw gizmos checkbox. That kind of line is called a gizmo in Unity. And anything that's just there, it's not really supposed to be shown to your end user. It's just for you to do your engineering. That normally is called a gizmo. All right, so there we go. All right. Now, I think I'm going to leave it there. But I want to just talk through the next stage. So there is more that you can do. So if you're following, things are working pretty well for you, you can just follow along to a more advanced code at the bottom, where this will actually take the entity and make it move. Okay? But keep in mind, so this code, everything up to now has been pretty generic, and it pretty much 100% useful for our lab. Now this, not so much, because this assumes there is no simulation model, terrain, other stuff that was prepared for you in advance that you need to integrate with. Okay? So this is solving an easier problem than yours. But you can still do this, and you'll learn a lot from it. Okay? So basically, this would be a replacement for the Astar AI object that we had. So here you see, when it starts up, it does the same thing as before, except that when it says on path complete, okay, it doesn't just say yay. It does something else. Okay? It has a path property here. So here, path property got added, and you see it grabs onto the path. Now I notice it doesn't actually copy the stuff over. I wonder why I was having problems. This is similar to what I was trying to do. I guess this is why I was trying to do it. Why does it hate me? You know, it should work, okay? But it grabs the path, and then it's keeping track of which waypoint it is at through the path. And then every time it's updated, it tries to move a little way along the path to try to give you a nice smooth motion, okay? So you can see that, let's see, so path, vector path, current waypoint. Okay, let me say a couple things here. So vector path is maybe okay to use. I'm not 100% sure. So what you get, what's inside of a path, let's see, what's inside of a path? How could we actually know that? Is there API documentation? Yes, there is. Let's go into classes. Let's look for path. Of course, path is going to show up everywhere because pathfinding is our favorite thing to say. Okay, all right. I get it. I can't do it that way. Scroll down. Here it is. Here's a path. Okay, inside of a path, there are two different paths. Okay, they're both useful for different things. And for this lab, they might both be equally good, but be careful because I would like you to move from waypoint center to waypoint center. Let me just show you. Where is it? There is a variable. Yeah, here it is. Vector path. Okay, there's two paths, representations of the path. This is here as a node array. A node is the actual waypoint. So this for sure, if you grab that and grab the nodes and grab their positions, that's going to be the right info. This may or may not be the right info. So this is a bunch of vector 3s. It might actually be the same information. This might actually be directly what you wanted, in which case, be my guest. If you're sure that's good, you can look, you can click down and look at the documentation. I'm just not sure as I'm standing here. And I don't want to put you on the wrong path, so be careful. Okay? It's basically redundant information, but that doesn't mean both are perfect for our use. Okay? That's the idea. And then what you'll see in this code here is that they will just go toward the first path point, and once they're close enough, you see they're, let's see, distance to waypoint less than they, yeah, so this is their threshold for how close they need to be to a waypoint, and if they're close enough, then they will go to the next one, and close enough, they go to the next one, and that's how they go through the path. Okay. Again, can't just cut and paste this stuff, but some ideas from it and how you actually get the information out of the path object that's returned for you, that's at least inspirational, if not exactly directly useful. Questions?
Does the pathfinding, I see that it says vector 3, but does it produce a three-dimensional path above the?
So I think the nodes are exactly where you see them in the visualization. So they're like laying right on the plane of the ground. So those would be the actual waypoints. And I think that for that reason, if I take for example, my capsule, where his position is at his belly button is going to go and move along the path, which means he's going to be sunk halfway into the dirt as he moves along.
But if we put it onto the terrain, he'll elevate up and down with the...
Now, in my code, so this code, I think, so let's see. Yes, I think that's right. That's what the ground clamping will do. So even for this code, so here's the thing. So if you have 3D terrain and you generate waypoints like this, then the waypoints, looking at it from the side view, so what we did right now is all flat. So this would be the side view. But if there's actual terrain, it would be like, okay, so, and then if you just followed the line in between them, you would move in this path. That would not be bad. The reason I did ground clamping is, well, these points for us are 5 meters apart. For all I know, in 5 meters, there could be something sitting there, in which case you will glide through that thing. So that's why I'm actually testing and putting you on the actual skin of the earth every update. Yeah. Other questions? Okay. All right. Well, give it a try. This will be a very good startup exercise. The next step out, I'm not sure what the details in the next lab will be, but whatever you learn about the underlying structure of the Astar Pathfinding library might help you, because because, actually, as nice as it is for some uses, it is not the right thing in all respects for simulation. So it could be we'll have to go and mess with some uglier stuff next week. Well, for sure, it'll be uglier stuff there. What we're doing will be more complicated, right? So and therefore uglier. But we might have to actually deal with a custom waypoint type. It's something that I haven't done before. I just kind of bit the bullet. I was like, it's not really what I want, but I'll live with it. And I don't know. I might do that again this year, or we might. I know how to fix it. It's just that I've never had to drag the rest of you along with me down that path because it's not the most pleasant thing. But that's what you do, and that would be the reality. If I were doing this for any simulation, even a very undemanding stakeholder, almost certainly you would have to do that extra step. So maybe I'll make you do it. I'll think about it. So whatever you learn about the API will probably help you next week. All right. Good luck. Oh, thank you so much. Yes.
It was a development that don't forget it.